Hello, darlings. Nice having you here today. On this podcast, I would like to talk about another topic that is part of our 7 directions, and that is authenticity and how you can be more authentic in life. Hopefully, after listening to today's podcast, you'll be able to understand why being authentic is important to truly be happy and live a more fulfilling life. Also, by knowing what authenticity is and how it makes us feel, we'll be set free to pursue our life's purpose and be better leaders ourselves. And on that same line, I'm also going to talk about why we don't seek authenticity. And I'm also going to talk about how people use authenticity in the wrong way. Hence, why authenticity and respect are together when we talk about our 7 directions, as they go hand in hand. And finally, I'll talk about some of the steps you can take to become more authentic. And if you're listening now via one of our podcast hosting platforms, don't hesitate to check out our website at churchofclear.org if you would like to learn more about the Church of Clear and our directions. Okay, so what does authenticity or being authentic mean? According to the dictionary, it means being genuine. But being authentic is really more than that. It is living our lives according to our own values and goals rather than those of other people. Put simply, authenticity means we're true to our own personality, values, and spirit, regardless of the pressure that we're under to act otherwise. And according to Brené Brown, to be authentic, we must cultivate the courage to be imperfect and vulnerable. We have to believe that we are fundamentally worthy of love and acceptance just as we are. I've learned that there is no better way to invite more grace, gratitude, and joy into our lives than by mindfully practicing authenticity. Those were words from Brené Brown. And so as you can see, authenticity is intertwined with our other directions such as mindfulness and love and gratitude. And by learning how to be more authentic ourselves, we are invariably finding our own purpose too. Even because we will need to know ourselves in order to find our true purpose. And authenticity is about presence. It's about living in the moment with conviction and confidence and staying true to ourselves. Even though it may sound counterintuitive, a real authentic person puts others around them at ease. And in some ways, you know what you're going to get. There is somewhat of a predictability that comes with being authentic. Even though the thoughts and feelings that passes through us are constantly changing. But you may be wondering that being unconditionally comfortable with ourselves sounds great, and that's already a good reason for us to be more authentic. But why is it really important? Well, firstly, because we begin tapping into our own power, our personal power. By loving ourselves unconditionally and being genuine about who we are, it carries a power that no one can take away from us. We can be comfortable with ourselves without having to develop a thick skin to protect ourselves from others, because we will understand that others are simply reflecting their own ego too, as we understand ourselves and our ego, especially when it comes down to non-constructive criticism. And by the way, when we are authentic, we will also be aware of our own flaws or open to hearing more about them, because that won't diminish our confidence and love towards ourselves. And we can decide to take criticism if that is going to ultimately help us. We won't have problems with hearing it from those we know care about us. We also start respecting ourselves more, and we make decisions on who we allow to influence our major decisions in life. Nonetheless, we begin trusting ourselves to make choices for ourselves. We will also understand our emotions better, and that will allow us to communicate them with ease. Plus, the world needs us to show up and share our gifts, because we all share the same human qualities and universal elements, but we are also unique and different from one another. But before we can truly be comfortable with being ourselves, we need to understand that many will criticize you, will judge you, and we gotta be comfortable with that. We gotta be okay with that, because we begin not following the norm as we become more authentic. We begin not really being comfortable with how people tell us to be just because of societal standards. And that can be very frightening to many of us, and even to those around us. We may even retract from being more authentic because we want to be more liked, more accepted, instead of the opposite. But if you think about it, the person that we are going to please was not going to approve of who we are anyways. And so we'd be living in a constant state of pleasing others instead of pleasing ourselves. And that is not being happy either. Also, when we become more genuine and more honest and truth to ourselves, people would just tend to trust us more, and therefore they would like us more too. However, some people do use authenticity the wrong way, because that comes from a fundamental misunderstanding on what authenticity really means. And so they are just solely interested in themselves, and there's just no way to reach out to them. And, there's also this aspect of not understanding the other person. But there's a cure for such a dilemma. It is when we understand unconditional respect. And therefore, that's why respect is together with authenticity when we talk about a church of clear directions. When we learn that we have our boundaries and others have theirs too, we begin understanding that it's not just about us either. And we should be free to truly be ourselves, but we should also consider other people, places, etc., their boundaries. And no wonder there are rules and regulations everywhere we go, just simply everywhere, because many of us want to have the free will to be ourselves and to pursue what makes us happy. But we may not know how to respect one another. So I'm going to give you an example here. So let's say you want to go to a specific restaurant, and the place says that you can't enter wearing flip-flops. And so that place has rules or boundaries for how they'd like to receive you. In this case, if you're really into flip-flops and you're wearing flip-flops at that very moment, no matter how much you enjoy or you want to wear your flip-flops, there has to be some sort of respect to that specific place that do not allow you going in there wearing flip-flops, right? And so maybe that place is not a place where you'd be comfortable anyways. So you don't have to go there. And then on the other hand, if you don't mind leaving that part of yourself behind so that you can enjoy another space with a different point of view than yours and expand your awareness, you can do so by respecting that place's boundaries and enjoy it. It doesn't mean that you don't have to use flip-flops altogether or stop enjoying wearing flip-flops, but you can choose not to use it because you'd like to consciously be a part of that environment. And that will enrich you too, because you'll be putting yourself into understanding another point of view and taking yourself out of your comfort zone. I'm going to talk more about authenticity here on a later date, and will explain to you the real reason why we conform. And it may be a different explanation which you haven't heard before. So definitely stay tuned to this channel and subscribe so you don't miss it, okay? And now let's talk about how you can become more authentic. I guess I have already mentioned a few of the steps here, but we should definitely start off by becoming more mindful and aware, and taking advantage of mindfulness practices like meditation, for example. Because through awareness, we begin understanding who we are, we understand our emotions and thoughts. And if you want to learn more about mindfulness, there's another podcast here that you can listen to. You can also use a journal, because by putting down your thoughts and how you're feeling in writing, that helps us understand more of our thinking patterns and personality. We can also use different types of arts, not just writing, to express those feelings and thoughts and analyze what that piece we just created is telling us about ourselves. We can take time to reflect each day, but in general, what we really try to do here is also understand this ego we have been forming throughout our whole life. And by having this knowledge, we can decide what parts of the ego does good for us and what doesn't. We will also be able to truly tap into the possibility of becoming the better version of ourselves after we have deconstructed this ego. And I'm going to talk more about the ego here in this channel too, so don't hesitate to subscribe. This may sound a little confusing right now, but it will make sense later, okay? And another tip to be more authentic is associated with surrounding ourselves with people that understand authenticity and are not threatened by it, because they're so themselves. So can you imagine a world where all of us could truly be ourselves and that wouldn't be a threat to others, even because there would be an universal respect? And finally, in all honesty, authenticity is just as easy as being. Okay, darling, so I'll go deeper into this subject on a later day too. And I just want to leave a final message here. Don't forget to listen to others and to see the value in giving love to others, as well as yourselves. And I hope this audio has helped you understand a bit more about such an important topic. And I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.